I don't know how you... So he's got 4 major criminal cases. So here's the long and short of it. You got a guy who is, in all likelihood, going to spend the rest of his life in prison. That's my guess.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to an on-the-road edition of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer. Here's the deal. I am in a hotel in... Where the hell am I? Grand Cache. No, Alberta. That's where I am. I'm so tired. I've been riding all day. We rode from basically Banff this morning all the way to here, so it's about 180 miles or... No, it's more like 300 miles. Tomorrow we're going to Fort Nelson, which is almost a 500-mile, 2-lane ride. So it's a big ride. Today I'm going to react on the road to the Trump indictment. Now let me tell you something about the Trump indictment. I'm going to read it with you. This is the first time I've really had a chance to look at it. Remember what I... Hang on, here's the hat right here. You guys... Stop self-snitching. This is an absolute masterclass on self-snitching. Donald Trump has just absolutely excoriated himself. So let's just get into it right away. And before I get into it, this is brought to you by contractscounsel.com. Contractscounsel.com, it's a very easy way for you to have a lawyer look at any kind of contract that you need written. And here's the thing, to be honest with you, the reason why I'm doing this video is because they're a partner of eSign.com and they have a lot of clients, but they don't have a lot of lawyers. So if you're a lawyer, and I know a lot of you lawyers are fans of the show, contact contractscounsel.com, and it's an easy way for you to get some legal work done from the comfort of your own home, and you'll be doing some good for a lot of good people. So the indictment charges Donald Trump with 4 counts. Conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, and obstruction of and attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. I've never even heard of that one before. Some of these things aren't always charged out. But this is huge. So it talks about the rights that the defendant has, meaning Donald Trump. Despite having lost and was determined to remain in power, so for more than 2 months following the election day on November 3rd, the defendant spread lies that there had been outcome determinative fraud in the election and that he had actually won. So that's kind of where this thing starts, okay? The defendant had the right, like every American, to speak publicly about the election and to even claim falsely that there had been some outcome determinative fraud during the election. He was also entitled to formally challenge the results of the election through lawful and appropriate means, such as seeking recounts or audits, blah, blah, blah. What he didn't have the right to do is some of the things that he talks about a little bit later in the indictment. So let's talk about count 1, conspiracy to defraud the United States. The allegations contained in paragraphs 1 through 4 of this indictment are, and here's the thing, once you get charged with this, now you're on conditional release. You know, he was on conditional release before, right? Because he's been indicted in New York. He's been indicted in Florida federally. He's going to get indicted in Georgia. And now he's indicted in D.C. on the January 6th. So he's going to be on conditional release in 4 different jurisdictions. That's insane. A sitting United States former president, well, not sitting, but a former United States president who's running for re-election. He's out on bail, basically. This president is out, and his supporters just absolutely adore him. And here's one of the biggest things that really bothers me. He's collected millions of dollars. I think upwards around $200 million in the Stop the Steal campaign. At least 40 million of that has gone to lawyers like me. And it's not just for him. He's using it for other people in his circle. So these people who think they're going to try to overturn the election by giving Donald Trump money, who is a billionaire, doesn't need your money, give me a break. But this is a very fascinating lesson in criminal law. the indictment in count 1 did knowingly conspire, confederate, and agree with co-conspirators, known and unknown to the grand jury, to defraud the United States by using dishonesty, fraud, and deceit to impair, obstruct, and defeat the lawful federal government function by which the results of the presidential election are collected, counted, and certified by the government. Well, how would he have done that? How? The purpose of the conspiracy was to overturn the legitimate results of the 2020 presidential election. So the defendant enlisted co-conspirators. Co-conspirator 1, an attorney, that's probably Eastman, who was willing to spread knowingly false claims and pursue strategies that the defendant's 2020 re-election campaign attorneys would not. Co-conspirator number 2, an attorney who advised and attempted to implement a strategy to leverage the vice presidential ceremonial role, overseeing, that's probably Eastman actually. Co-conspirator number 3, co-conspirator number 4, co-conspirator number 5. So basically this is what they're saying. The real meat of this is in the manner and the means by which they defrauded the government. The defendant and the co-conspirators used knowingly false claims of election fraud to get state legislators and election officials to subvert the legitimate election results and challenge electoral votes for the defendant's opponent, Joseph Biden. Electoral votes for the defendant that is on the pretext of baseless fraud claims. The defendant pushed officials in certain states to ignore the popular vote, disenfranchise millions of voters, dismiss legitimate electors, and ultimately cause the ascertainment of and voting by illegitimate electors. So now, if you know anything about what happened in Michigan, there's a bunch of people who were fake electors. You know, they were going to supplant themselves. They filed fake certificates, and now they're charged in Michigan with this election fraud. And here's the thing: he's going to try to claim that he advice of counsel. He's going to try to claim that he legitimately thought that that the election was stolen. And if you go to paragraph 11 of the indictment, the defendant's vice president, who personally stood to gain by remaining in office as part of the defendant's ticket, and whom the defendant asked to study fraud allegations, told the defendant that he had seen no evidence of outcome-determinative fraud. In other words, if there was any fraud, there wasn't enough to overturn the election. The senior leaders of the Justice Department, appointed by the defendant and responsible for investigating credible allegations of election crimes, told the defendant on multiple occasions that various allegations of fraud were unsupported. The Director of National Intelligence, the defendant's principal advisor on intelligence matters related to national security, disabused the defendant of the notion of the intelligence community findings regarding foreign interference that would change the outcome of the election. The Department of Homeland Security, senior White House attorneys, senior staff, state legislators and officials, state and federal courts. So in other words, he's getting all this information from everywhere. And what he does is he goes and cherry picks a particular lawyer who's willing to do his bidding. You can't do that. You can't say, well, so-and-so told me that it's legitimate, so, and then all of a sudden you have all these other people telling you that it's illegitimate. So here's the long and short of it. You got a guy who is in all likelihood going to spend the rest of his life in prison. That's my guess. I've been wrong before. I was wrong on the Milley trial, but I really wasn't wrong on the Milley trial because it was 9-3 guilty, and I think that was an aberration. When they retry it, he's going to be found guilty, I'm guessing. But here's the thing with Donald Trump. He's got the Mar-a-Lago case, the government document case. And that case is set for trial, I think, in May. They just gave us, they recently issued a superseding indictment. A superseding indictment is an indictment that contains either new counts or new defendants, and in this case they contained both. And so with the import of those new, and that's May of 2024, guess what's going on during May of 2024? The election and the primary. And so what's going to happen is, I think they're going to get a new trial date. And that's going to bump right into the fucking election. And then it's going to have to happen after the election. That is my guess. So come October, he's going to have a trial by the Attorney General of New York. They're seeking $250 million for tax fraud. He's going to have a trial with this E. Jean Carroll, on a defamation case, and that's kind of a who gives a shit because, and I don't mean that you shouldn't care about her, but in terms of the legal woes that he is looking at, that's kind of a. I mean, he didn't even show up for that trial. I mean, that shows you how much he really gives a shit about that, and he's not gonna ever pay her $1. But then you've got the New York indictment that's supposed to go in December. He's going to get indicted by Fonnie Willis in Georgia. He just has so much. I don't know how you. So he's got 4 major criminal cases, not to mention a couple nuisance civil cases. The Attorney General's case is not a nuisance. That's a big case. If he's found guilty of this stuff, and he's the top dog, how many prosecutions have they done in this case? For the January 6th crowd, how many? Over 1,000. Over 1,000 prosecutions. And how many have they lost? I think they may have lost 1. The federal government has an extremely good record, and Jack Smith. You read that indictment yourself. And Jack Smith has absolutely tied up any defense that he might have. So this has just been our reaction to the news that Trump is now indicted on a major January 6th case. So, and to give you a hint on what I'm doing, I'm actually doing some work while I'm on the road. I'm in my hotel room in where the hell am I? Grand Cache, Alberta. So tomorrow we'll be in British Columbia, and we'll be in Fort Nelson. So which puts us about the halfway mark to Fairbanks, Alaska. So that's where we're headed. And today we started out in Banff, and I think we posted some stuff on Instagram, and started out with 7. 2 of the guys went home because they were only going to take part of the journey, but the other 5 are just amazing guys, and this is on my buddy Kirk's bucket list. So, and you can see the beard's coming in nicely. This is kind of crazy. And I haven't had my hair cut in about 5 weeks. No, 6 weeks. So I'll have a 2-month no haircut, no shave, and I wouldn't mind. I put a little beard butter on it to soften it up. That doesn't seem to help too much. It itches a little bit, but it is what it is. I get a lot of great comments, and let me just tell you something, guys. I read a ton of your comments. I can't read them all, but I try to respond to quite a few of them. I love you guys. You guys are just so nice to me, and nice to Michael, our content genius, who's not here. That's the way we have this quality that you see. It's just me and a camera. And so Michael, I'm gonna hopefully upload this, and Michael's gonna edit it and maybe make it look a little better. But this is what we got going on. So we appreciate everything you guys say and suggestions, and we try to get to them. And I'll just tell you, you guys really support us, and can't tell you how much we appreciate it. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and watch for me on the road. Watch Instagram, because that's where I'll be posting my progress. So love you guys. Thank you so much. See you next time on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God.